Those who smile the most often hide the sharpest blades. In this video, we expose the deceptive nature of sociable people, those charming masks who disarm your instincts only to control, betray, or consume. If you wish to survive among liars cloaked in friendliness, keep watching. There is no armor more dangerous than a warm smile. In courts and crowds, in councils and conversations, the truly cunning wear kindness like a weapon, drawing you in, softening your defenses until the trap closes. I, Niccolo Machiavelli, have walked among the courtiers and the cheerful, and I tell you this, the most dangerous enemies are not those who scowl, but those who flatter. Let us unmask these social assassins. Let us reveal why trust, in the hands of the sociable, is a throne built on sand. People do not love truth. They love comfort. They do not follow strength. They follow the appearance of strength. And this is why sociable people rise. Not because they are wise, nor capable, nor honest, but because they know how to wear the mask the crowd demands. Ask yourself what moves the masses. Logic? No. Morality? Rarely. It is emotion. It is identity. It is illusion. And the sociable man, he knows this better than the philosopher, the priest, or the king. He studies not truth, but perception. Because in the world of men, perception is power. Do you recall Caesar? He was beloved, not just for his victories, but for how he made the people feel. He gave bread, gold, spectacle. He wept in public. He embraced the poor. Was it sincere? Does it matter? The crowd thought it was. And that belief was stronger than any sword. This is the principle. If you can command how people see you, you can command what they let you become. The sociable man understands this instinctively. He knows how to be seen. He is never too opinionated, never too firm, always agreeable, always warm, always just enough to reflect what you already value. And in doing so, he becomes a mirror, not a man, but a reflection of your desires. You begin to like him not for who he is, but for how he makes you feel. This is not coincidence. This is design. It is crowd manipulation on a personal scale. And in a group setting, it becomes even more dangerous. Watch how he moves among others. He listens more than he speaks. When he does speak, his words are smooth, careful, inoffensive. He smiles at the loud, nods at the wise, flatters the insecure. Each gesture earns him favor. Each response deepens the illusion. And when conflict arises, what does he do? He sides with no one, yet offends no one. He speaks peace, but chooses silence. He stays close enough to all and loyal to none. That is how the sociable climb. They are the perfect courtiers. They offer no threat, no challenge, no weight. And for this, the crowd lifts them. But here lies the trap. The more they are lifted, the more power they wield. Without ever being truly known, would you place a blade in the hands of a stranger? Yet this is what people do daily. They trust sociable figures. They hand them influence. They vote for them, befriend them, confide in them, all because they wore the mask well. But the mask always hides something. Sometimes it hides weakness. Other times it hides ambition, dark, calculating ambition. Because what better disguise for a manipulator than charm? What better cloak for deceit than a pleasant tone and shared laughter? The crowd does not ask hard questions. They are too busy applauding the performance. They don't see the strings being pulled, the angles being played. And when the betrayal comes, it always feels sudden. But it was never sudden. It was planned. So I ask you, when you look at someone who is universally liked, do you feel safe? Or do you feel suspicious? You should feel the latter, because universal appeal is almost always artificial. Real people, real leaders, real minds, they make enemies. Because truth divides, because principle offends. But the sociable man, he divides nothing, he glides, unseen in his motives, unknown in his beliefs, untouchable in blame, and yet he holds sway over decisions, emotions, even fates. This is the danger. The crowd believes they are choosing who to follow. But in truth, they are being led by someone who learned how to wear the right face at the right time. A mask made of smiles. A mask crafted from reflection. A mask that hides power even as it gathers it. And now you must ask yourself, have you mistaken a mask for a man? Have you applauded your own manipulation? And more importantly, who else is watching the crowd quietly learning what face to wear next? Because in the next segment, we go deeper. We expose the moment when charm no longer flatters, but strikes, and you never see it coming. A dagger glints in moonlight. You see it coming. You raise your guard. But a smile disarms you, and that is why it's far more lethal. The most effective betrayals don't come with rage, they come with reassurance. They come from someone you once laughed with, someone who knew your fears, someone who remembered your victories, the ones who smiled at you while they sharpened the blade behind your back. This is not rare. It is routine, because the sociable man knows the power of psychological timing. He studies your rhythm. He waits. He does not attack when you're ready. He strikes when you've fallen asleep beside him. Let me tell you a story. Francesco de Pazzi, a nobleman in Florence, educated, sociable. He walked beside Lorenzo de Medici in church, offering the peace of God. Moments later, he plunged a dagger into his throat. That is the nature of real betrayal. It's not stupid. And it's done by someone you thought incapable of it. The greatest manipulators will never appear cruel. They know cruelty repels. But charm attracts. So they wear it like armor, while they bleed you from within. Why fight you when they can fool you? Why challenge your authority when they can sit beside you and erode it with a smile? Modern psychology calls this covert aggression. But long before the term existed, rulers and con artists mastered it. You must understand, sociable people build a trust buffer, a zone of emotional safety around themselves. They attend your birthdays. They offer help when it costs them nothing. They give praise generously, especially when you need it most. And slowly, your mind links them with warmth, with reliability, with loyalty. But when power or opportunity appears, they change. Only now, you cannot believe they've changed, because their smile hasn't. So you rationalize it. You excuse them. You become an accomplice to your own deception. Have you ever ignored red flags from someone simply because they're always so nice? That was the smile working, not their integrity, their image. This is the difference between reputation and reality. And sociable people know how to manipulate the former so skillfully that the latter becomes invisible. Ask yourself, have you ever been betrayed by someone you considered harmless? Have you ever been stunned when someone you trusted turned cold, distant, or opportunistic? That's the trap. The smile conditions you to believe they're incapable of ambition, treachery, or cruelty. But they are not incapable. They are simply better at hiding it than others. The wolf who snarls is honest. The wolf who wags its tail before it bites. He's the one who rules the forest. Because most people are blind to subtlety, they believe betrayal must look dramatic, loud, angry. But real betrayal is quiet. It happens in meetings, in conversations you're not invited to, in choices they make that they will explain later. You hear it in what they don't say. You see it in how they suddenly begin to manage your image, not to protect you, but to reshape the narrative in their favor. And by the time you realize, they've already won. They already have the support, the sympathy, the control, all earned with nothing but a smile that killed more effectively than any poison. Now here's what no one tells you: the sociable betrayer doesn't always feel guilt. Why would they? In their mind, they earned it. They used charm instead of force, words instead of violence. They played the game more cleverly than you. And in the world of power, cleverness is more valuable than loyalty. So what do? You learn to listen beyond the tone. You observe what they do when no one is watching. And you never ever mistake a soft voice for a soft heart, because when betrayal comes clothed in politeness, it leaves no fingerprints. Only a hole where your trust once lived. Now follow me further, because in the next segment, we enter the deeper battlefield. Not the smile, not the charm, but the illusion of friendship, and how it becomes the most dangerous weapon of all. They enter the room with laughter, light in their voice, warmth in their gaze, and you, like most, instinctively relax. But you've already made your first mistake. You assumed that charm is harmless, even honorable. What if I told you charm is nothing more than a sharpened tool, used by those too clever to wield a blade in the open? You see, in politics, in courts, in taverns, and even in the quiet rooms of family. Those who dominate socially do not do so with brute force. No, they do it with silk-wrapped deception, the kind that makes you smile while you're being softened. Like meat before it's carved. Look around your life. Who are the most sociable people you know? The ones everyone likes. The ones who never have enemies. The ones who always get along with everyone. Now ask yourself, what do they gain from that? Because no one is liked by all unless they have learned how to be nothing to everyone. This is not virtue. This is strategy. In Florence, I watched courtiers smile at the prince while quietly aligning with his enemies. They laughed in the candlelight, offered gifts and compliments, bowed low in public, while in private they poisoned wells, both literally and metaphorically. Were they kind, or were they clever? Kindness is consistent. Charm is conditional. Charm says what you want to hear when it is profitable to say it. And that is its genius. A charming person studies you. They observe your insecurities, your ego, your desires. Then they build a personality that mirrors your preferences. They compliment your strengths. They validate your opinions. They laugh at your jokes, even when they aren't funny. Why? Because the most dangerous manipulators don't overpower you. They seduce you into giving them power willingly. Psychologists call it social engineering. But I call it the art of invisible conquest. Consider the serpent in the garden. Did he strike Eve with a sword? No, he charmed her. He appealed to her intellect. He flattered her curiosity, and she handed over paradise. The same pattern repeats today. In politics, the sociable candidate shakes every hand, kisses every child, smiles with the poor, dines with the elite, and when he gains power, he forgets every face. You think he changed? No. You simply mistook performance for principle. Now pause. Ask yourself, how many decisions have you made because someone smiled when they said it? How many alliances have you formed with those who showed charm but never showed depth? How many betrayals came not from enemies, but from those who once laughed beside you? The charming man does not show his teeth unless he's already bitten you. Charm, when unchecked, is more dangerous than cruelty, because cruelty provokes caution, but charm invites surrender. It is the camouflage of the ambitious, a mask that says, I mean no harm, while the hand beneath sharpens the knife, and yet you still trust them. Why? Because we are trained from birth to value pleasantness over principle. We reward appearance over intention, and in this foolishness, the charming thrive. They master timing, they control tone, they mimic empathy, but they are not bound by truth. They're bound by outcomes. And if betraying you gets them further than flattering you, they will shift in a breath. So what do? How do you defend against a smiling enemy? You watch. Not how they treat you, but how they treat those beneath them. The waiter, the assistant, the forgotten. Charm directed upward is ambition. Charm directed downward is character. And when you find someone who is kind when no benefit exists, then, perhaps, you've found someone rare. But until then, assume the charming are hunters, and you are meat. There is no malice in this, only reality. The world is not run by those who are genuine. It is run by those who appear genuine. And until you learn to see through that disguise, you will be ruled, not by kings, but by clowns with crowns of charm. Now let us turn to the next illusion, because if charm is a weapon, then the crowd is its battlefield, and there the truly dangerous rise. Let me show you how. Friendship. It sounds noble, pure, mutual, but in the real world, where power is currency, friendship is often a weapon, not forged in fire, but in appearances. You think you are friends, but what you have is an audience that claps when you rise and quietly whispers when you fall. Now ask yourself, how many of your friendships are built on truth? And how many are built on usefulness? Sociable people, those masters of pleasant appearances, know this truth better than most. They are not interested in intimacy. They are interested in optics. Because in the realm of power, friendship is not about loyalty. It is about leverage. They do not form alliances out of affection. They do so to be seen forming them. They build networks not of equals, but of perceptions. So they appear trustworthy, likable, harmless. But underneath, they are calculating every move. Consider the case of Brutus. To the public, he was Caesar's beloved ally. To Caesar, he was a loyal friend. And yet, with one well-placed blade, Brutus secured his place in Roman history, not as a loyal man, but as a political survivor. Because even betrayal, when well-timed, can be recast as virtue. Especially when your friendship has already earned the trust of the crowd. This is why sociable people embed themselves in your life. They join your cause, support your dreams. They align themselves publicly. Not because they care, but because your name, your influence, your image serves theirs, and so long as the alliance serves both, they play their part. But make no mistake, this is not loyalty. It's convenience. Real friendships are rare, and dangerous people understand this, which is why they rarely pursue them. Instead, they master the performance of friendship. They speak kindly of you in public. They appear at your side during celebrations. They send messages when everyone else is watching. But in private, they remain neutral. Distant, they reveal. They recommit to less. They offer enough to stay in your favor, but never enough to be bound by it. This is not carelessness. It is design. Because to maintain control, they must remain unobligated. This is the battlefield of appearances. And while you believe you're walking side by side with a friend, they are calculating the moment when walking alone benefits them more. Think, who benefits more from your friendship? Who initiates contact only when opportunity knocks? Who praises you publicly but withholds depth privately? These are signs. The sociable manipulator doesn't burn bridges. He paints over them. So when he walks away, it looks like you let go first. That's the subtlety. He preserves his image, because he knows that the world rarely blames the friendly. Now consider this tactic. He befriends your enemies, but does so with a smile. He justifies it as neutrality, or keeping peace. But he's building options. If you rise, he celebrates you. If you fall, he already has a seat at another table. This is the sociable survivor. He is not a friend. He is a strategist. And friendship, that's just a costume he wears when it suits the scene. You must not be fooled. Watch how people behave when there is nothing to gain, when your influence fades, when your crown slips. That is when you'll see the truth. But by thing the damage is often done, because the friendly mask gave them access, and access is the beginning of control. So what must you do? You must learn to be pleasant, but measured, courteous, but not trusting. Observe who shows up when the spotlight fades, who stands beside you when no one is watching, and above all, never confuse social harmony with true alliance, because friendship in the world of power is rarely about affection. It's about positioning, and when the tides shift, your friend will already be standing where the applause is loudest. Now, let us go deeper still, because if appearances are a battlefield, then likability is the most dangerous illusion of all. In the next segment, you'll see why those who seek to be liked are already wearing a leash. To be liked is to be leashed. It is to hand your power to the mood of the crowd. And those who need the approval of others will never command them. They will please, they will entertain, they will bend, but they will never lead. Now ask yourself, how much of what you do is driven by this need? How often do you remain silent when you should speak simply because you fear judgment? How many false alliances do you maintain to avoid being disliked? This is the trap. The desire to be liked is not a virtue, it is a vulnerability. And sociable people exploit it with precision. They sense your hunger for approval. They feed it. They praise you, mirror you, compliment your ideas, even if they disagree. Why? Because the moment you need them to like you, they own you. It's the oldest game in politics. Look to the Borgia court. Everyone smiled. Everyone flattered. Everyone feared losing favor. The Duke didn't need to make threats. He simply withheld smiles, and men destroyed each other just to win them back. This is how power is managed, through emotional control and liking. Liking is emotional currency. The more you depend on it, the more easily you are purchased. Now consider the opposite. The man who does not care to be liked. He is dangerous, not because he is cruel, but because he is free. Free from the crowd's approval. Free from shallow alliances. Free from needing validation to act. He calculates with cold clarity. He is not reckless. He is strategic. If pleasing the crowd advances his purpose, he does it. If disapproval serves him better, he welcomes it. Because his loyalty lies not with people's feelings, but with his objectives. There is strength in being feared, but there is more strength in being indifferent. The crowd can sense it. They see a man who is immune to their games, their flattery, their threats, and what they cannot control, they begin to respect. This is the paradox of leadership. The man who needs applause loses his throne to the man who ignores it. Do not misunderstand. I do not advocate cruelty for its own sake. I advocate detachment, because the man who is enslaved to opinion will eventually betray himself. He will make weak decisions to maintain a false peace. He will compromise when firmness is required. And the sociable, those masters of charm, love this type of man. Because he is easy to steer, they will surround him, praise him, applaud his words. But they do not respect him. They manipulate him. And when his usefulness fades, they vanish, leaving him alone with the applause that no longer matters. Now look at history. Marcus Aurelius was respected not because he was beloved, but because he ruled from principle. He did not govern by affection, he governed by reason, even when it made him unpopular, even when it isolated him. That is power. To remain still while others panic, to speak truth while others flatter, to stand alone and remain unshaken. Most will never understand this. They are too desperate to be liked. But you must train yourself to see approval as noise, pleasure to the ear, but poison to the mind if consumed too often. Ask yourself this: would you rather be loved for who you pretend to be, or respected for what you truly are? Because the world will never fully love you, not once you rise, not once you stand apart, but it can learn to fear you, respect you, follow you. Not because you pandered, but because you ruled yourself first. That is the only approval worth earning. Your own, the crowd's affection, it shifts with the wind, and he who sails by it will drown. But he who charts his course by vision, not validation, becomes untouchable. And that is the final lesson sociable people never tell you. Because if you become immune to their charm, you see them for what they are: performers, not leaders. Now, what happens when you wear the mask? What happens when you master the charm, not to please, but to control? That's where we go next, because the weapon they use can also be turned against them. Control is never taken by force alone. The cleverest rulers don't command, they influence. They don't dominate bodies, they occupy minds. And the most dangerous power is the kind people never realize is being used against them. You've now seen how sociable people weaponize charm, how they rise through smiles, deceive through kindness, and conquer through appearances. They make you trust them, like them, follow them, all while quietly bending your will to serve theirs. Ask yourself, have you been controlled without knowing? Or worse, are you still being controlled now? Remember this: if they shape how you feel, they shape what you do. And once they control your choices, they don't need chains. You wear the leash yourself. Now it's your turn. Comment below. How have you seen charm used as a weapon? Subscribe for more strategies in the art of influence, manipulation, and cold realism. And share this video because power is only dangerous when it remains hidden. Let others see the mask they've been shaking hands with.